Hello and welcome back to AlphaTauri for another week of races in F1 Manager 23. Is Miami in the United States the first of 3 trips to the US, of course, off the back of the Japanese Grand Prix last time out in its 2024 place of round 4, mimicking the real life schedule. Once again, we had one of those races where one person does rather well, the other person has an issue, but in the end, both scoring good points. Rather spoiled that if you haven't watched it by now, links in the description. Good work me there. I should also clarify at this stage, just because of the nature of when these are recorded and when they are uploaded and when they are released, this is the first recording after the 1.6 update, which brings in the team switching. So I just want to make clear here on camera, this is an AlphaTauri save. There is no team switching in this. If we get to a point where we've made AlphaTauri dominant, and say Red Bull are looking pretty weak overall, one can hope really, but if we end in that wild circumstances where Red Bull have fallen dramatically off the pace and we are dominant in the AlphaTauri, then we could see a sequel series where we do the exact opposite. However, this is an AlphaTauri save through and through, and we'll go as far as we can to be as dominant as we can. Now, on that particular point, the 1.6 patch, whilst it brought in team switching and fixed a bunch of issues, also created a brand new one, and that is related to development rates. So basically, if I just arbitrarily go on front wing, I'm not going to make one. Whether this was an intentional or not, but what they've done is effectively, by fixing research, which wasn't performing as it should do in terms of developing expertise in car understanding, by fixing research, they slightly broke design. Essentially, in the most layman terms possible, what they've done is they've introduced a new multiplier in the design thing. So if you were to focus, say, on brake cooling here with the front wing, I can't really show it to its full capacity here with the front wing part, just because the brake cooling on this is already 79%. But basically what's happening right now is by focusing on one particular area, you are developing expertise in that one particular area, and then the next time you make that, the multiplier is there again, providing an exponential benefit. So the next piece becomes even more dramatically overpowered. And that's the problem that's kind of coming in. So in order to mitigate that, as a player and as a creator here, we're kind of having to just sort of play with one hand behind our back and not do pieces quite so focused. Now, obviously, I've already done one like this season before this patch came in. So it's kind of already at a stage where we're looking pretty good on that one anyway. But from now on, we're going to have to play pretty much straight down the middle and maybe just mitigate the minus that will come in if we were to develop new pieces this particular year, because otherwise you could end up, and it has been proven, you can end up at the front of the grid within half a season with basically all but the bottom 3 teams in season 1 by absolutely exploiting the system. So I just wanted to be clear on that, just to let you know how this is going to go forward on that particular point. It's a tad unfortunate that disclaimer had to come in this particular episode because it's a sprint weekend, so it's going to be a long episode. Apologies for that. Yes. This is the first sprint weekend of the season. This is one, whilst the calendar reflects the real season of 2024, which has already been announced, the sprint weekends haven't been announced, so I've had to use my best estimates, and I figured Miami's not really, from a racing standpoint, being received too well so far by the viewer community. So they might try and do a sprint weekend here just to sort of ramp up the excitement of the weekend a little bit more next year. So this is the first sprint of 6 this year. Round 5, Miami. See you for qualifying, which will be shortly. Don't read too much into one practice worth of results here. Obviously being super conservative in practice now, as I mentioned previously. But we've kind of got their preparation as high as we can kind of get them. I also feel it's worth just reiterating one point here as well. Just because I said something on this in a previous episode, and it wasn't certain if it was clear in the way I said it, but I have used all of the car parts once, which means if we have an anomalous qualifying session and we end up near the back for whatever reason, then I can take preemptively the penalties and get a new round of stuff. Because we're probably going to need one guaranteed per car for the season. One of everything per car for the season. So we're now in the boat, if we have that anomalous situation, that we can make the most of it. But 2 flying laps as always. Now, one thing that has been part of the 1.6 patch is apparently the AI is slightly better at getting up to speed. Also, I've just noticed it says outlap sort of when they come out. It actually stays on outlap until Norris got round that final corner, which is slightly odd. But I think this is basically whenever they're not up to speed, it says outlap. So in theory, we shouldn't be quite as good in qualifying compared to the rest of the field. The rest of the field should be slightly faster. That being said, we are straddling Sainz right now. Also, they seem to have fixed the issue of switching from a 2 to a 1 lap qualifying, because I just put so on the tyres I want straight away, and I don't have to do it again. Whereas I did it the old way with Albon, which is why he was still working on it. But we'll let everyone else get their lap times in and we'll see where we are situated. I think Sainz is out of position. Bottas being right behind me does terrify me, actually, because that implies they are a lot faster. Slight problem here, game. I now no longer know what the fastest lap is because it says Alonso outlap on his lap. So realistically, I don't actually know what the outlap time is. I think it's about 1.5 minutes, effectively. So realistically, I don't know what a flying lap time is right now because I cannot see it. But I think it's about 1.5 minutes. And there's other ways to find it. But a little irritating that it does it there. The leader time should be kind of immune from this. In fact, there's a batch of cars, I think, just coming out now, which I would want to get ahead of on a flying lap. Ricardo, for some reason, has come out in between our two vehicles, but I don't think they warm up their tyres well still, actually. I'm not certain if it's the tyre thing, but they certainly get their momentum up a little bit earlier, is basically the patch thing. Yeah, so realistically, we don't need to switch the rest of this on until they get to the end of this straight, because there's a tight hairpin at the end, which is going to remove all the momentum anyway. It's all about getting the tyres up to temperature. Yeah, Yuki, if you can get past him, that would be great. And now hopefully you can drive away from him because you've got much better tyres than whoever that is in the Haas. Also, there's a new yellow level of temperature, but as Alex comes around the final corner, we are still safe for now, but not everyone's taken the checkered flag, which obviously is our concern. So Albon goes up to 10th. That's actually an improvement. That's a good improvement. Yuki's improving as well. Okay, that's 6th. Still a full second off the leader. So I think the qualifying, I do think the AI qualifying has been improved a little bit. I doubt Miami is kind of the best proof of that, just because of obviously the proximity of that chicane. But anyway, tyre-wise, I think we're probably still getting the advantage by manually doing it. But Miami isn't one of those ones that has like a long build-up before they get going. I think they got going after that chicane anyway. So I don't think it's necessarily a momentum problem here in the first sector, because you typically get your biggest improvement over the rest of the AI in that first sector because you've got the momentum on certain tracks like Spain and Bahrain with the long straights. This isn't one of those. But the concern that we wouldn't make Q3 as a result of the adjustments, we might be all right. Tell you what, though, it was crucial that we got past Kevin Magnussen or Hulkenberg, whichever Haas that was with Yuki Tsunoda, because when we started our flying lap, Yuki, I think, was 14th with the Haas directly behind in 15th and 16th. At the very least, one was 15th. And they've both been put into the bottom 5 as a result of someone getting out of it. Maybe Oscar Piastri, because Lando is surprisingly in 18th. Hamilton only 11th. Keep an eye on that one. I'm just testing something with Tsunoda here. I set him on his way with the tyres a little bit later, just because I did notice them tip over the temperature threshold. Of course, we're probably going to get impeded anyway as soon as we try to start our laps regardless, so it's always the way. Someone will probably try and come out of the pits now. Although, so Albon kind of crossed the line at 95. Yuki just crosses it just in the threshold of warm tyres. So we'll see how much of a difference that actually makes, because it's whether or not overheating them takes off the advantage you get from having them warmed up in the first place. Apparently this camera angle, by the way, is not as good. Can't say I can tell much difference, but it does look a little offset for certain. It's not central, which is a tad irritating. 129.5 from Alex. Yuki goes faster. Notable that Yuki had the fastest last sector. Someone's obviously gone faster for the first two, presumably the Aston Martin. 35.38 from Alex, 35 flat almost from Yuki. So maybe it is worth holding off a little bit on the tyres. Oh no. Well, the good news is qualifying auto saves in between them, so we don't have to do Q1 again. Well, I tried to redo exactly what I did the first ones last time round, and somehow they've actually gone faster. So, or Alonso's gone slower, one of the two. But the gap isn't quite as big as it was. I think I did 129.5, so I think actually they've both gone faster, because they've done 129 flats somehow. I mean, if they don't improve on the second one, then we can just take that into the improvement thing. Tad irritating they've not done the same thing, but you all saw the problem. There's no way out of that problem, by the way. You just have to close and reopen. I thought I timed this well, but I'm not certain I have. Alex, I think, will get through the traffic, or at the very least only leave himself with an Aston Martin, which will be faster anyway. So Yuki right now slightly more in danger, so we'll go on board with him. Also, for some reason now some car models have got their little windbreak pieces here. We're not one of them. That being said, because I do have updated models for Aston Martin, I'm not sure theirs will. Oh, they do have theirs actually. But we'll go back with Yuki through sector 1. We'll see how they do. Sector-wise, we'll bring them up. Still no, plus minus. Right now, actually, we're looking pretty solid. The Alpines a few tenths behind. Stroll, I suspect, will come through, but slower first sectors. That's always helpful. That is a Mercedes that needs to get out of the way, so that might have been done an in-lap, so they've probably done their time, whichever one that was. Verstappen goes to the front, or Perez goes second, one of the two. I didn't quite see what happened there. One of those two situations. Slower middle sectors as well, so yeah, I think they just did a better first lap. Like a really good first lap somehow. But Yuki with a very distant slipstream from those cars ahead, maybe. Actually, I ended up getting him in a nice, relatively sweet spot, aside from the tiny bit of Mercedes traffic. Albon crosses the line, doesn't improve. Zhou improves to 11th. That's 8 and 9 as things stand. Stroll behind on the track, I think, and going full whack. So as Russell had done their time, Hamilton on track as well. Gasly's in 13th. Ocon's gone 7th, so Noda could be out here. Stroll didn't go faster. Bottas goes ahead of Gasly. That's really good from the Sauber team. I think Piastri's done. Because if I remember rightly, Piastri looked like he got ahead of someone already. So I presume he's coming into the pits. And he's done, yeah. First time a Sauber got out of Q1. That's good progress on them. Pierre's terrible qualifying continues. And Lance Stroll with a not great one either. And purely of his own regard as well this time, rather than being caught out by weather systems. Of course, because there's never been a sprint in Miami before, I don't know what compound is necessary here for the sprint. All right, first laps on used tyres. Not even certain he'll catch Alonso, so it might be clean laps from both our drivers here. No hindrances, only marginally slower than the original laps in Q2. Well, they did 129 flats pretty much. So 129.1, 129, well, 129.2s effectively from both. It's a good banker, probably 9th and 10th. 8th and 10th, in fact. Verstappen needs to get a good lap in there. All right, so we'll just get our drivers through the Ferrari. That'll be helpful. We'll give Alex the love this time round. Ocon the only one yet to start a flying lap, apparently. Ocon trailing a little bit behind everyone else. There's still a minute to go. Everyone came out really early, so I just sort of had to send our drivers out as well so they got to the front of that particular queue. Only problem is they will get caught on this Red Bull. Whether or not they break there anyway, I don't know. Hopefully they do. And hopefully we can just sidle past it here. There is a Mercedes on track, but I think they might just be on a flying lap anyway. Tsunoda passing the Red Bull now as well. Both call them on this straight. Hopefully that's not too much of a hindrance because I don't know if they have to lift off to do so. The Ferraris caught it in the chicane. Verstappen only went 5th, by the way. He's done his lap. He went early. He was 7th when he did his lap, so he's definitely done it because he's now 5th. I haven't seen if they're actually improving. They are improving, in fact. Well, mostly. So we will actually technically be 2nd and 3rd to take the checkered flag, although other people have done their laps. Hamilton done. 4th for him. Alex goes up to 8th temporarily. Yuki goes 6th. Okay. Again, temporarily though. Sainz 4th. Not too much of a hindrance there then. Perez 2nd. I mean, it's only really Russell behind, and I think he's done. Oh, Ocon's behind as well, of course. Although he's about to catch that Red Bull right in that last chicane, which ain't going to help. But he might just have got it as it dives into the pits. Ocon crossing the line now. Goes 9th. Get Alex. So Alex 10th of 10. Yuki 7 though. Ahead of Russell, ahead of Ocon in a sprint. He starts in the point-scoring positions for the sprint. Alex just outside him. Crucially, though, there's only really Stroll behind that I think is significantly faster than Alex. Whereas Tsunoda has both Russell and Stroll behind, technically. Quite amusingly, Sergio Perez is now the only person so far in 5 qualifying sessions to have not qualified any lower than 3rd. Right, so we've got another practice session to get out of the way, and then I'll see you for the sprint. Well, I might have forgotten to go out on the second run in the end, but still 88 track acclimatization, so 97 overall. It's not terrible. At least it prevented any potential crashes. And there was already a set of softs that was going to be returned anyway, so... It's an interesting decision, because it does say 6 seconds faster overall, but that is requiring us to go on full 5 push the entire time, which may push the tyres into melty territory, rather than just angry territory, whereas 4 is slower. 4 would be basically the same, actually. So 4 on the mediums is only 1 second slower than the softs. Actually, it's 1 second faster than the softs because I think it just dips under. Let's go for it. It's 19 laps of Miami, and we start 7th and 10th.
And here in Miami, it's time for the sprint. And it's lights out, and away we go.
That is actually rather interesting that they've managed to stitch together here in Miami. It's time for the sprint, because that would have been a line they would have recorded, I would have thought. So that is a very seamless connection between those 2 bits of recorded dialogue, I suspect. Somebody was on hards at the very front there, but I feel like we have made a mistake. The race may come to us. Interesting that Hamilton's taken Verstappen, Sainz has taken Alonso, but that's slightly less surprising. And Stroll really had to touch Alex, it seems. We'll come back in though. Russell maintaining his distance on Tsunoda for the time being. Tsunoda going forwards isn't going to be a thing I'm going to really be paying attention to too hard here. Except for maybe Alonso on those hards. So we're paying attention to this new yellow temperature bracket. But as far as I'm aware, the AI still pushed for the first 2 laps. That wasn't something that was changed in the patch, so we'll hold on here on full aggression mode as Alonso falls 1 more place to Verstappen now. I feel like Aston Martin are sabotaging Alonso for some reason. It's like Alpine second season syndrome again for him. He's qualified second, 3rd in the last 3 races. and still only has 22 points before this race. And he's in very big danger of not getting any points in this sprint. Although that does require Russell to start doing things, I think. I'm not sure what point we stop pushing the fuel either, because that's 0.5 now, and they are very angry tyres. DRS should be a thing now, though. Sonoda has it, Albon doesn't have it, that's the problem. Whilst I don't like being on 125 degrees Celsius tyres, does seem to still be tracking with the general trend of the mediums. So as long as it keeps us within a DRS range, that's always going to be helpful. Only person who's come through so far is Stroll. Sonoda has got Alonso, but of course we don't get a replay for that still. Still a problem. Just seem like Alonso on those hards is a tougher customer. It's Ocon that feels the most threatening at this point. Albon's on the back of the train that starts with Yuki. Russell's gone through without too much fuss, although still only about 1.5 seconds ahead. Alonso's fallen to 10th, actually. He's behind his teammate. I feel like Yuki's pace might get him in George's DRS before too long. And speaking of the devil, that has come to pass. And in doing so, drops Ocon briefly until there's some weird shenanigans in that final corner and he gets back in range again. But so I thought I'd just check. Curbs is still a thing. In terms of getting temperatures down, curbs is still a thing. I don't know if it's as potent in regards to preserving tyres, but certainly still potent enough to get the tyres down within a lap. And it's probably faster than just going 3. Sonoda could challenge George for 6th here. There's a yellow flag. Albon remains 10th. No, sorry. Albon is now 10th because it's Stroll in 9th who's just gone, whee!
Confidence will have taken a hit with that.
Also, his rear wing. I was say Albon's back in the points, but that's 10th, isn't it? Not 8th here. You need to be where Ocon is to get a point. Ocon in a sprint again. Infuriatingly good. Stroll's actually gone in the pits. Someone actually shared the reason why the Alpines are good at the start of races, and I forget what it is. I think it's something to do with the Alpine engine. But it's why I suspect Ocon is also good in the sprint. I think it might be that the Alpine engine has the best acceleration, so they're very good at getting up to speed early on. And obviously for a shorter race like a sprint, similarly more pronounced. 5 laps to go, Yuki. Just get those temperatures down a bit, that might help you. As long as you stay within DRS, I don't really mind. Oh, they're challenging. They're challenging. Of course, because I'm not getting the messages saying they're overtaking each other, I just have to rely on my own reflexes. Albon is seemingly just kind of stuck in 4th. Interestingly, Alonso's back up to 8. Those hards on 73% might actually now be comparable to those softs. He's at a 132.2, which is faster than anyone, apart from the top 2, 3, 4, apart from the Red Bulls and Ferraris, potentially. So it feels like a point's out of grasp just because of Alonso now. There is a red flag 1 lap from the end. Well, that's abrupt. I don't know what happened. We didn't even get the replay. What just happened? I don't even know who crashed. Lance was at the back because he had to take a pit stop. I think whoever crashed just got away with that because I can't see anyone else who's lost a dramatic amount of points, places. Trying to look at the gaps to see if there's a dramatic gap, but there isn't. Unless it was Lance Stroll again. Nope. I think it must have been at the back. My one concern is it did look like there might have been a Mercedes off track at the end of the straight. So I feel like we might have been mugged off there 1 lap from the end of the race. Because I think one of these two may have crashed. Remember these numbers, essentially. I mean, even the game regards a 2-stop in Miami is faster than a 1-stop, so maybe this was the right decision to use the medium then, because that appears to be the fastest way of doing things, so we will just do that. It's no fuss, really. We'll pit when we're ready. 1 lap under, as kind of always.
Here we go with the Miami Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
So following the sprint, it is a Red Bull and Ferrari checkerboard 1, 2, 3, 4, although it's immediately roughly become a 2x2 almost straight away. Perez from Verstappen, Leclerc from Sainz, Hamilton, Sonoda remains 6th for now. Russell, Alonso, Ocon and Albon still in 10th. Ocon and Alonso jostling for position 8th and 9th. Poor Alonso, absolutely mugged off with the strategy there in the sprint. Or lack thereof, I should say. I'll check in on the respective vehicles to see if anyone's taken... Actually, did anyone take a penalty? I can't help but... As far as I can tell, no one's taken a penalty, but that might not be a thing at this stage of the season for the AI because they just use one set of parts, wear them out, and then use the second parts and wear them out rather than spread out the first 4. So they won't be taking penalties until at least halfway. And I won't be able to check in until they've all done a lap. So we'll let everyone cross the line. Pretty much just remains status quo as far as I can tell, apart from Verstappen on Leclerc, and that's about it. At the top end, I think Piastri's got Bottas, I think Hulkenberg's taken Norris, and I think Stroll's taken Ricciardo, and that's it. For well, effectively a driver swapping positions with the driver behind / in front of them. Off the start, everyone else remains status quo now. Everyone's crossed the line comfortably now. The two Mercs look okay to me. Stoll obviously from damage from just having his accident in the first place. The fact that De Vries has a new engine... Oh no, De Vries just has a fresher engine. That's probably just from crashing in a previous race. Sainz bizarrely has a almost fresh engine and gearbox. So we're none the wiser to working out what caused the red flag. Basically everyone's on mediums. I think a lot of people are doing one-stops. No one started hard. No one's done hard to medium anyway. But we'll get people through this first lap. Russell falling off. I think he's on mediums though, isn't he? So now Alonso's in the reverse trap from the sprint, where now he has the faster tyre compound than someone else. Feels like a novelty for him, I imagine. Gasly struggling to hold on to the train as well is helpful for Alex in 10th. Of course, the final points playing position here in the race. Useless in the sprint, points-wise. Tsunoda goes wide to try and catch Hamilton out there and has actually got a nice angle of attack on him going into this chicane, but still has to try and make it stick as he's now run out of DRS. That's my bad. We will have DRS, as will Hamilton, though. Actually, how does Hamilton have DRS? He's 1.5 seconds behind Sainz. Yuki can't make it stick, though, as Alonso does take Russell. Why does it say Hamilton overtook Tsunoda there, but it never gave me Yuki overtook Hamilton? That implies Yuki was in front at some point. Yeah, I never got that notice. The saving grace, it does appear that his confidence is basically in line, so I think he did, at the very least, get the confidence for going past in the first place if it was then taken off him again. But we'll have to relent on fuel, I think. Now we're incapable of using everything to our advantage. We are struggling to hold on to people, but as Albon and Gasly seem to be having a fight now, in for that last position. For some reason, Alex does seem to be incapable of holding on to Ocon and Russell. Yeah, Tsunoda's doing okay up front. Alonso has taken him, but he's not lost any more than that. And to the point, and to the degree where he can fight Fernando for the position, but I'm happy just to let that stick for now. It'd be great if Alex could get a tad closer, but I don't think he can, sadly. Unfortunately, a couple of laps later, Yuki has lost DRS on Alonso, just to see if we can pick up the pace again. We're on track with the other soft runners as things stand, so doing all right on that front. Just kind of hoping Alex can maybe leave Gasly behind just to give him the opportunity to recover a tad of fuel, really. Would be nice. Yuki's on the fringe of getting DRS again, and now has it. So that could be helpful. Alex has closed the gap to Ocon. I think it's just because Ocon's no longer in Russell's DRS as well, so he hasn't got that benefit anymore. Fortunately, literally only one lap is what Tsunoda could do on that front, as Alonso and Hamilton irritatingly pick up the pace. Another medium runner's advantage may be paying dividends. The good news is we are in pit stop range, so I just want to get a little bit of ERS back if I can. Maybe it wasn't wise on Tsunoda there. Our drivers really aren't that far apart either, all things considered. Hamilton's in the pit already, off his softs. Just because I don't think we can actually double stack as things stand. I think just because the people around Tsunoda have pitted first, I'll let Yuki come in first. Whereas Gasly's still got Albon to fight. So Yuki in. Try to see who's actually doing one-stops here. Pretty much everyone else, I think. Paris has gone soft. Oh no, Paris might have gone medium-soft. Hamilton's gone soft-medium. Ocon's gone soft-medium, come out 18th. We'll see where Tsunoda comes out, because this could be slightly problematic. Has Ocon got an undercut? No. Or at least fully, anyway. Still a bit behind Yuki. Tsunoda's immediately in a DRS, though. Fortunately, Ocon's in his. We'll try and push Yuki through these. Albon's going to be pitting very shortly as well. So Yuki gets one. Ocon remains behind both for now. Ricciardo comes in, which is helpful for Alex, actually, because it puts him in clean air. I'm not actually going to be able to push these too hard, these tyres. I mean, it would be really nice if Yuki took the actual attack angle on Magnussen here, but he isn't, which means Alonso is now well and truly up the road, but might be being held up by, ironically, his teammate in part. This is the stint that's going to kill us competitively. Alonso is through Hulkenberg and Zhou Guanyu now. Tsunoda's on the back of Hulkenberg. To be fair, actually, we've only lost about a second to Alonso in this stint so far. And Alonso's a faster car, so Ocon's not got through us, thankfully. Albon's come out ahead of Gasly through the pit stops as well, but they've gone on to, they've gone on to another medium, actually. Don't tell me they're doing medium and messing this up entirely. Like, doing the broken glitch thing. Verstappen, Sainz, Russell, Stroll, Zhou and Hulkenberg yet to pit. We'll see what tyres they go onto, because you would assume Gasly's actually still got another pit stop, but he's doing medium, soft for some reason. So basically, we just go 3 on this all the way to when we need to pit, and then we just destroy them in those last 3 laps, is basically the principle there. Tsunoda seems to have gotten Hulkenberg, who's immediately dived in the pits. That's helpful. But put a gap between him and Ocon. So created a kind of natural barrier between the two. So if we can just sort of push Yuki. Nope, never mind. Ocon got DRS. No point fighting. No point trying to run away from him. He's just going to go past us now. And we're going to have a tete-a-tete with him for the remainder of this stint. Actually, if we go behind Ocon, as Gasly's turned up the fuel or whatever and gone for it on Alex as well, he's closed those 4 seconds. It is possible, Alex. You were 4 seconds ahead of him about 4 laps ago, but you've done a 134.5 and he's done a 133.2. Leclerc's done a 130.8 for Christ's sake. What the hell is that from him on a soft? Okay, fair enough. So, medium hard, medium hard, medium hard. Hulkenberg's done medium soft, so he might be doing medium soft soft. And Russell and Stroll still yet to pit, actually, so there's still 2 people yet to go, which means, actually, Tsunoda has got that full pit stop on Stroll, because he's basically in range already. Annoyingly, Tsunoda got Ocon back at some point, and has stayed ahead of him. I want to use Ocon as an ERS harvesting point, but he's not working with us, ironically. Hello, there we go. You might actually get into Stroll's DRS by virtue of this slingshot, which would be sensational timing in that respect. We'll watch this replay, because I've not really watched any so far, but this is really helpful and sensible timing from Yuki Tsunoda. Completely accidental, of course, because the AI doesn't really think like this, but gets past Ocon again, and then gets into Stroll's DRS. So we can sort of just stick on top of for the time being. Stay behind for the checkpoint, Yuki, which is about there. And now get him. I mean, I didn't really top up a great deal there, but we got it back up to 50% at the top end, so that's the main thing. Alex has been left behind by Pierre Gasly, which is slightly depressing. And that's Yuki past Stroll, but there's a little weird. Stroll just pitted. Stroll just pitted and I think cut off Ocon again. So he's now a second and a bit behind, but he'll get straight in the DRS again because he always does somehow. But thankfully, not immediately this time around. We're making him work for it. Alex is even struggling to keep up with Norris at this stage, which is slightly depressing. Oh, he's on a soft in fairness. Yuki now holding up Ocon and Russell. For this section of the calendar, I did say getting 9th and 10th was probably our target, really, but I don't really want to give positions away to Ocon. Hamilton, you know, the Mercedes, not really our fight still. I mean, we're still 7th and 12th. Nothing's really changed in the last 4 or 5 laps. I must say, Ocon is making a meal of getting this overtake done on us. And Albon's sort of just holding on to Norris, who is simply not losing ground to Gasly, which is the most important thing. You know, Norris isn't slowing us up. In fact, I think he's just going for it a little bit because he's closing that gap to Gasly now. And sort of dragging Albon with him. I might push a few laps here just because Norris has got into Gasly's DRS. I want to join them. Someone's pitted there, Hamilton. There wasn't rain scheduled for today, was there? So we started pushing with Alex and didn't do anything. So that was fun. Sort of immediately went too hot and didn't actually gain any time whatsoever. So that was helpful. Stroll's pitted, I think, now as well, crucially. Has Russell pitted yet? He must have. Yeah, he went on to hards. How many laps? We are effectively just 4 and a bit laps out from wanting to pit. And we're on 53% mediums. Ooh, do we reckon? Do you reckon we just go all out for 3 laps soon? Welcome to Russell. He just went through us and then vanished. I didn't even see the notification for that one. We're going to have to recover fuel at some point as well because there's been no incidents. Tsunoda and Ocon are fighting backwards and forwards. We'll watch this. That's Hamilton behind. Like I say, Russell's run away, but the fact there's a Merc again there is just very confusing from a chronological point of view. Right, pit window entered for both drivers. Go for it, lads. Hamilton's through. Ocon's pitted. Norris has pitted as well. Albon's now on the tail of Gasly again. I think it's this lap we designated to pit on originally. Oh, maybe it's the one after, which is good actually, because it was only just going to do it. That's Albon through Gasly again. 15 laps on, full blast. Just because, again, they're not that far apart. We'll put on Albon the lap after, but Gasly's pitted this lap, annoyingly. But this is a 5-push stint. We don't have to do anything with it. We might have to cool our tyres down a smidge. He has lost the position to Ocon, who pitted a couple of laps earlier, but cleared Norris, thankfully. Fortunately, Zhou Guanyu was holding him up because Tsunoda is driving like an imbecile. Just overtake him, Yuki. He's on hard, you fool. There we go. Ooh, fastest pit stop as well. Yeah, so Albon's now 4 seconds behind Norris. I think that was a relatively good overtake from Yuki there, actually. All right, so now our target is anyone who hasn't pitted again or isn't planning to pit again, essentially. And then undercutting anyone who has yet to pit a second time, which is going to be hard to track, really. I don't think anyone else is yet to pit again. I think we were the last ones to do it, realistically. But we've got 12% better tyres than Norris right now, and we're hunting people on worse compounds, actually, with Yuki. Ocon's on mediums, Stroll's hard, Hamilton's mediums, Russell's still hards as well, of course. But really, it's only Stroll that's kind of within our window here. But Albon is having to fight Gasly immediately, which is not helpful. Why just take an early opportunity to recover a smidge of fuel? Because he got Norris relatively quickly there and ran away. And while you're in DRSs of the respective Alpines. Take this fuel, lads. Take the fuel. Cool the tyres down. Because we're catching Stroll anyway with Yuki, so it doesn't matter falling out of his DRS too much. No more consideration. Just all-out attack for the remainder. Yuki actually went a little bit over on his fuel, but so he'll quickly close on Stroll, I imagine, and Ocon, and has done. So lap 53, he's almost in that DRS. Alex is in Pierre's, unfortunately. Pierre's in Norris's. Snowden still has a point here, but if we could, do you think we could get past Norris? Don't tell me Stroll's going for it now on those bloody hards. 132 he's done there on hards. I was taken Norris. Well, I went to Gasly in all this. Oh, we both got past Norris. Tad unfortunate for Lando there. He got took by 2 drivers on 1 straight. Taken. Well, we're going to clear Gasly now then, Alex, to get 11th, which is still pointless, I guess. But Tsunoda's in a DRS now, kind of. Can we close the gap, Yuki? Can we get within that second? That would be great. That one's overtaken Gasly now. Job done. Problem with this is soft on soft. And Gasly won't be pushing it anywhere near as hard as Yuki, so we might actually have the advantage at the end. Albon, sorry. So Ocon's got through Stroll. We need to now negotiate Stroll as well. So we need to get past him before Ocon disappears. Come on, Yuki, I believe in you. I know we both got DRS here, but we need to make this stick. Oh, good work, Yuki, good work. Settle it, settle it, settle it. Settle it, settle it. I took him off deploy there for a second. All right, yeah, I think he's settled that now. Let's go, Yuki. I know Stroll's on hards here. I wonder if they've made a stealth edit to the way the driver versus car balance goes to overall performance here. Because Alonso is 4th and Stroll is 10th. And Stroll hasn't had an issue in the race. I know he started at the bottom, of course, because of his incident. Alonso started 10th, don't forget. So Alonso's recovered to 4th and got past a Ferrari in the process. And Stroll's recovered to 10th. Overtakes Central right now. I like this now. It's soft, medium, hard in order. Yuki up to 8th again, which is kind of our rightful position, all things considered. We're not faster than these top 7 drivers. In fact, technically 9th is our position, but because Stroll's behind on an inferior strategy. I mean, Alonso's had a better strategy there as well, to be fair. But maybe they haven't done it. Maybe they haven't done the driver thing yet. They definitely do need to move the needle slightly more towards driver capability than car capability. Because right now, the car is king still. That's kind of proven by that top 7. Again, no retirements. I think we actually may have had retirements. We just not had a safety car so far this season. Have we had a DNF yet at all from anyone? No, actually we haven't. I mean, Stroll had an incident in the sprint and still didn't DNF. So the red flag presumably would have caused someone to DNF, whatever that was. But we still don't know what that was. Tsunoda, I wouldn't mind if you could just sort of leave Ocon behind. That would be great, mate. I know they're overheating, but Albon's put a bit of breather room between himself and Gasly. Albon actually could get Stroll. With a bit of push here, Albon could get Stroll as we begin our final lap. Both drivers, I think, on peak performance as well right now because of the overtakes they've done. Getting back through the field, Alex had a smidge of extra fuel, which I'm just going to use to see if he can get in Stroll's DRS by that back straight. We'll be laughing, but he's got to do that first. There's the target for Alex. Unfortunately, that's now the extra fuel gone, but we're also kind of maximum fuel ERS-wise. Race has been won by Perez from pole, actually. Perez from pole to win there. Leclerc actually gets Verstappen in the end, so it does actually end the way it started, 1, 2, 3. But all out deploy now. Unfortunately, Alex is not getting close enough to Stroll, but the deployment is helping drag Tsunoda away from Ocon in this final stint. Alex, going everything, he's going to get in DRS range, but unfortunately not by the point, they did the detection. So he's going to get onto the back of Stroll here. Whether or not there's any capability of getting past him on this last corner, I don't know. I don't think it's going to deploy early enough. No, actually, the line is a lot earlier than it looks on the map as well. The line is basically straight after the corner. Yeah, it's got halfway up the straight on the map. So, I mean, realistically from Alex, he started 10th. Sorry, actually, Fernando started 8th, didn't he? Not 10th. And got to 4th. So, actually, yeah, no, maybe Stroll is still too overpowered, respectively. Real life Stroll wouldn't have gone from 20th to 10th. Considering we've had points in every race so far, I think we are kind of expecting it now. First time Red Bull isn't first and second. Perez a second win, but this is the first time someone's nipped into second place that wasn't a Red Bull. I do feel like I need to start apologising for these relatively straightforward races that we're having. A little bit annoyed that nobody's retired at all and there's been no safety cars or anything like that. The red flag, still a mystery. It might as well not have existed. But Fernando back up to 4th, having started the sprint 3rd, and then the race 8th. So, progress. Fastest lap for Fernando as well, by the looks of things, though. Oh, it says at the bottom. I do have eyes. But Lance recovers to 10th, which is crazy, really, when you think about it. But Yuki only really relenting to George Russell overall. Fernando as well, coming through. Alex only giving way really to Lance Stroll, who is in a much faster vehicle. So, same with Pierre. So, no real disgrace there. Just a shame he happened to start 10th. If he started 9th, he may have held on for the last 10th place position there, really, I guess. But, oh well, we'll never know. Fernando now getting decent points again, up to 7th. Hamilton getting good points as well, up to 6th for him. Carlos up to 4th. Lance down 4 places. Yuki up to 9th, taking Alex. We've got a little intra Alpha Tauri fight going on here now. No new point scorers, sadly. Constructors-wise, remaining 5th. First and third in that, dominated by the Red Bull teams, the Ferrari just nipping into 4th, but dominated by the Red Bulls and Alphas. Red Bulls being our nearest rivals and all this. Oh, our design centre's been refurbished, that's always helpful. And the rear wing's been designed, which we will develop, but probably won't be on the car, for the next race, which I don't think is too far away, 11 days. We might actually, well no, we might have enough for that, because they only take 3 days to make them. A couple of pieces failing their inspections, but that's fine. We are building new parts. The one problem is we are still building things of other sections, so it will be 3 days until we can actually start building one. So we will have the rear wings ready, we just won't have spares. We'll have 1 spare, I think, maybe. I should just say, by the way, they've also changed the durability scale, so it's a little bit more awkward. The lower point is now even lower. So, but the point here is that we kind of have to leave things in the middle, because if we do this and then do it again, then we get so much more of a benefit from that specific section. So, as things stand, we'll still go up a significant period with that new underfloor. So, alright, so it's underfloor, side pods and suspension on the right. Just trying to be as sensible as we can on that front going forward. So none of the pieces I put on look like they're going to be sort of dramatic improvements, but dramatic enough. So just trying to keep it sensible on that frame. Obviously, this is a road to glory, but I also kind of don't want to cheese the system too hard, especially based on the recent updates. So that's it from Miami. We're at Imola next time out for the first of the 2 Italian visits. So thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed this, do like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, thank you for watching. Ta-ra.